Uh, uh, Guide, it says host has disabled attendee sharing on Zoom.
Okay. Let me just figure that out 1 second. Multiple at once. Okay. Can you try now, Bala?
Yeah. Yes. Good.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm assuming you all can see my screen.
Yes, Bala.
Awesome. So hi everybody. Good morning. Like Gayatri said, I'm the product UX copywriter here at a company called Paxful. We are a peer-to-peer Bitcoin marketplace. We're actually expanding like crazy in India, like not like office space wise, but customer base wise right now actually. I will walk you through a introduction to UX writing today. Somebody's unmuted. Can you guys please? I think it's.
Yeah, Bala, I'll do the muting part. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm still actually still waking up. It's 8:30 in the morning here. But okay, so this is going to be a very short presentation. I only have like 20 odd slides prepared, but I want the session to be very interactive. So please, that's my way of saying I suck at making presentations. So please keep the session interactive and ask as many questions as you want. You can interrupt me, or we can save the questions for the end, however you want to do it. I'm sure you'll have at least a few, or I hope. So let's get started. So I don't have an agenda slide because right? I just realized this morning that I don't have an agenda slide. But anyway, what we'll cover today is what is UX writing, and we'll go through like a basic content design workflow, and then we will learn how to evangelize content within like UX copy within your company. And we'll also look at some numbers for UX writing, and also there's something else. We'll get there anyway. So we'll get started with the numbers part first, because let's all wake up, or let me wake up at least. But before that, a brief introduction about UX writing. So it's a very common misconception. We'll cover this later as well in a separate slide. But UX writing is not just stringing words together, right? It's creating the right experience for the user. You go like, as tech writers, you guys already know about writing for an audience. So in my experience, UX writing takes that a notch higher, is what I feel. So basically, what we're writing is content that will address a user's need, whatever the need may be, in the best way for the user to consume it. And UX writing is different from other writing in the sense that it is not focused on conversions. It's focused on taking the user through the journey. So at this point, when I think the line is still blurry, I would say, because I still do a lot of technically what would be considered marketing copy here, but excuse me. But the point is that the line is still blurry between marketing copy and product copy. So anything that attracts the user, that pulls the user in, is probably considered marketing copy. And the point where the user is already pulled in, like once they are converted, from that point on to take them through the journey, that's what the UX writer does technically. Or I mean, that's like the textbook definition, but it doesn't usually happen that way, because more often than not, UX writers end up writing the landing page copy as well. And landing page copy is mostly marketing, if not entirely, because you're still talking about the product there. You may have some product elements there, but it's primarily focused on attracting the users, and converting them. So it's not entirely about conversions, but it could be, like, depending on your role. These are some numbers I pulled out of LinkedIn. Apparently, we only have 55,000 tech UX writers globally. That is, I don't even know what percentage or what minuscule percentage of the entire IT workforce. It's very niche at this point. It's still up and coming. I had the story where when I attended this workshop where the guy said that, like 3 or 4 years ago, Facebook did not have any UX writers, and now they have more than 100 just in their London office. So that's how fast people are, adopting UX writing and understanding the need for it globally. It's still not the case in India. You can see the numbers here. So we have 3,000. When I did a search for UX writers, I got 3,000 hits, and most of those were not even UX writers. There was a mix of tech writers and UX designers. I don't know. The search algorithm was a little crazy, I think. Anyway, and currently we have around 147 jobs in India open for UX writing, and close to 1,800 jobs globally. Here are some numbers for Indian companies. Wait, I think I swapped the slides, but never mind. I was supposed to, I think I had it, the way I had it in mind, I wanted to present you the global numbers first and then the Indian numbers, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, so Infosys, I did a search again, and I got 28 hits for tech writers, for UX writers, and none of them were UX writers. TCS said 51, and there were 3 UX writers. Wipro, 12 and 2. Freshworks, 8 and 1. I don't know if if you guys work in any of these companies, and if you actually know any UX writers, please correct me, because this is all just data going off of LinkedIn, what I saw on LinkedIn. So I may have hallucinated, I'm not sure. So globally, the big companies, right? These are the guys who adopted UX writing very early in the days. So Google has the most, they have 555, Facebook has 388, Amazon is also pretty close there, and Microsoft has over 400 UX writers. So all the big tech companies have already made the switch, have realized the need and the potential of having UX writers on board. So for a long time, I think people were justifying the, not hiring a UX writer. Oh no, we can do this. Oh, somebody else can take care of that. Oh, this is not a separate skill. But now people are realizing more and more that it's actually a separate skill, and that they need dedicated people to work on this. Salary. The average salary for UX writer in the US is $126,000, but this is not entry level. It spans all levels, like from entry level to manager, I think. But the entry level salary that I saw was around $70,000, which is still decent. In the EU, it varies. It's crazy because EU is kind of stupid in some ways, because some countries are really expensive and they pay accordingly, and some countries are not and they pay accordingly, right? So based on the cost of living. So for example, my salary is nowhere close to this, but I still live a comfortable life in Estonia, because Estonia is a very inexpensive country. The same goes for Spain and Portugal and Greece and all these countries. But if you were to work in Netherlands or Germany or Belgium or Denmark, these countries are all expensive, and they obviously pay accordingly as well. Canada, it's close to 72,000 Canadian dollars, which is actually less. I would say, I'm assuming this is for entry level positions, and for India, I could not actually find any data. So if any of you guys are actually UX writers, and if you know what your salary, if you don't mind sharing your salary, please let us know. But I think initially, at least, we will start with, or we can ask to be matched with tech writers, like whatever the tech writers make in the company. So that seems logical to me. Now we will actually, this is where we actually get into the UX writing part. So I will cover the various stages or the various processes involved in UX writing, and then we can have a discussion. Oh, by the way, do you guys have any questions until now?
No, Bala. So far good.
Super. Okay. So content discovery is like the first step in a content design process. So basically, this is where you will identify the user what the user needs to do, what do they need, and what kind of pain points they have, and things like that. So this okay. So another broad disclaimer: this is very close to design thinking. So if you guys have done any design thinking courses, some of these things may sound repetitive. So just be warned. So that is the first step. So basically what we need to do is, initially we need to identify what the user needs, what their pain points are, how we can address them, and then take a look at the current content if we have any. If not, no worries. And then see if we can match the needs of the users with the current content and where it is failing, and then fill those gaps with new content. So these are some good and bad practices. It's obviously, you guys know this, you're all tech writers, so using jargon is a big no. Over explaining things, keeping a business mind. So basically what happens is jargon and keeping a business mind are closely tied, I would say, from what I've seen. So mostly when people start thinking start thinking of a new idea, they usually have like a way to call it internally, right? So, and then that becomes the name for the product itself or the idea itself, and that's how we push it to the external audience, not thinking if that is the best way for them to understand it, for example. So so these are all things that we should not do. It's the same as tech writing. And good things are basically finding out how our users talk about our product or talk about similar products and what do they actually need, and try and get into their head instead of and from out of our own head. So getting out of our business head and going into the user's head and trying to approach the problem first of all, the pain point or the user need from their perspective. And once we have an understanding of the pain point or the problem itself or the need, then we can actually create content based on what the user needs. This mental modeling is I think a very underrated step. I don't know. This was the first time I learned about this when I attended this workshop. So so basically, this ties into the previous point, the last point, getting into the user's head that I said here. So what this is basically understanding the user's thoughts, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what do they believe about. So for example, I'm in crypto space, right? So we all have very different notions of cryptocurrencies and things like that. We may have very strong preconceptions. Like the first time I told my dad that I got a job in a crypto company, he was like, "Money, don't trade, don't waste your money." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm not gonna trade. I'm just working here, right?" So, so these are all preconceptions and beliefs and thoughts that people come loaded with about a product or a certain business line or things like that. So these are all things that we have to address, understand first, and then address through our copy. So the idea would be to understand their thoughts and perceptions and alleviate them of any confusion, any ambiguity, make things simple for them, basically we have to become their best friend through our words. So how do we learn about the people's mental model? So how do we know what people think about cryptocurrencies? So we can look at forums, we can pour through social media, we can conduct surveys. Surveys are really good. Basically, even show up and talk to random people on the streets, like near your home, or somebody who's totally disconnected from what you're doing. So they will probably also be your target audience because you will want to grow the business to them. So go find people like that and talk to them. Like, for example, if you want to introduce crypto as a payment method, right? So we can go talk to local vendors, local shopkeepers, your Maliga Kadakaran or whoever. So we can go talk to these guys and we can find out what they think of crypto and what their understanding is and what kind of preconceptions they have and things like that. So, and then structure the content in a way that they will be able to understand their product and use it. The next part is user journey. So user journey is basically what the user does on the product. So most of the user journeys are about finding something, doing something, or getting something out of the product. So we have to address like 3 main questions. So these are very similar. So you put these 3 questions together, you will get kind of like an agile user story or a design thinking user need. So what do I need to achieve? So these questions are all from the user's perspective. So you ask the user, what do I need to achieve? And then what do I need to do to achieve that? And when I do it, what do I get? So these are 3 questions you need to answer for the user. And these 3 questions should be part of the user's journey. Well, the answers to these questions will actually make up the user's journey. So if a user journey is like a 5-step procedure, so every step is like a need, right? I need to do this next, I need to do this next, I need to do this next, and finally I'll get there. So so user need is basically the user wanting to do something, right? It could be anything. So, and why work? So you answer those 3 questions in the previous slide, you get a user need. So why work with user needs? This is because there's very little duplication. There's less work. So when you know exactly what the user needs and you're working towards it, there's very little chance of ambiguity and leaving things out. So because when you start mapping your user journeys on a big board or something, so you will have these various user needs at each step, and then you'll have like branches maybe. So each branch will be then become its own user journey. So when you keep track of all of this, you will know exactly where you are right now and what you've covered for the product and what you've not covered for the product. So okay, so I've branched out here. This is a newly signed in user who does not have any experience or hasn't done any trades on the platform. So this will be their journey. Or this is a returning user. He has like 500 trades. So this will be their journey. So we can demarcate these lines and we can address them specifically pertaining to each user. So that's what everyone can see exactly what they're getting. And also it is very transparent when you have user needs. So there's, like I said, there's no ambiguity at all about the whole process. How to structure your content. So you guys probably have no, oh shit. Okay, can you guys hear me still?
Yes, Bala. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry. So structuring your content. So basically, we have this inverted pyramid structure where you put your primary user need. You have to identify the primary user need, of course, and put that right on top, like front and center. So if you're creating a landing page, for example, the title and the little subtext under the title should probably address the user's primary need. Why would they come to that platform, or why would they come to that page? So you have to find that core purpose and address that right away. So that is how you retain your audience. You make them stay on the page for 5 or 10 seconds longer, so that you can sell your product to them. And then you go to the second important and the third important, and so on in decreasing order of priority. That leads me to this reading psychology and writing accordingly. So basically, people scan, right? So we have people's attention for very little time. So it's ridiculously little. Like, so from some studies, we see that people stay on a page for are willing to stay for 3 seconds, and if you convert, they will stay for 5 more seconds. That's it. So you get 3 seconds to convert somebody. So how do you convince them about your product? So that is why UX writing is so important. That is why anybody cannot do it. So because UX writers will know exactly what to say and what not to say, and how to keep things short and sweet and still keep it attractive for the user. So there's this process of reading psychology where people read in waves. It's called regressive reading. So what we do is we scan the content for like a few words, and then we take a break. Our brain processes it, and then we go to the next few words, and then we process again. So this is actually very cool because I saw this happen in real time through heat maps. It was really cool to see. So when people are only scanning, they're not actually sitting and reading. There's not a science book in your 10th grade, right? You don't sit and read. So when people are just scanning and not reading, you have to still be able to convey your point across. So how do we do it? We do it by using short, simple words that are very high frequency for the user, that they've used like a million times, that they've learned in their primary school or before, and also predictable words. So because the predictability is because when you start reading, sometimes your brain will autofill the sentences for you, right? So if your sentence actually matches the autofill of the brain, you're making the reading process faster for the user. So that is what you should aim at. And another big side effect is minimizing cognitive load. So cognitive load is basically people don't want to think. People hate thinking too much. They don't like to waste brain power. So we have to help them think as little as possible. And it's probably also not good for conversions if people think too much, right? So uh, if they're thinking, they're outside of the conversion window, and then they're probably like, I don't need this right now, I'm not going to buy it, and then they'll walk away. So keep the content or information in small chunks, short sentences, predictable words with a clean structure, and develop familiarity with the user. So through writing predictably. So we all know this. We all speak simpler than we write. Like, we don't use complex words when we are speaking to somebody. It's very everyday, right? So that is how we talk, and that is because the words we choose are part of our psychology. So whatever word the brain is most comfortable with, that is what it will choose, right? So it's kind of not entirely in our control, sort of thing. So because it happens subconsciously. So we should write like we speak. So we should keep our content at that level of readability, and that is when I think that is when your content is called entirely conversational. And conversational on a reading scale is, I think, less than 5th grade level. So readability scale, sorry. That's pretty much all for the UX writing part. We can talk about some real life examples and things like that later, like if you have any questions, but this is the kind of the theory that I wanted to cover. If you guys have any questions, we can take like a small pause here and address them.
Yeah, Bala, I think we have some questions on the chat window.
On the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you just take them one by one? Like from Lata, we have a question. Can you provide an
please
example?
provide an example to understand the content structure. High frequency. Lata, let me come back to your question, but Chetan, let me answer your question first. High frequency is basically high frequency words, the words that we use very commonly. These are probably the words that we have learned at a very young age. So we may have learned synonyms for those same words later in our lives, more and more complex words, but we may or may not be using them. And if we want to use a word for that meaning, to convey that meaning quickly, we'll probably go to the original word that we learned when we were very young. And because those are the words that stick to our brain at an early stage, and so they just live there basically. Hold on. Content structure. Lata, can you come online and is this about the primary user need and things like that? Is she still typing? Okay.
Maybe we can go to the next question, Bala, and then if she has
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Kiran, my UX writing is based mainly on the product's UI. So does the knowledge transfer of the product or training reduce? What happens when the product is not UI centric? Kiran, I'm not sure how people write for a product that is not UI centric, because if the product is going to be entirely backend and entirely API based, I don't see the need for UX writer there, to be honest. But you will still need like a little bit of UX writing because it'll still be consumed by somebody, but it may not be a very big part, and it may not be very heavy work that would justify multiple writers either. Maybe like one writer's job. Knowledge transfer of the product or training reduce? Actually, no. The knowledge transfer of the product or training does not reduce, because we still have to be in the know of what's happening. It's very similar to being a tech writer, except you're writing something else instead of something else. That's it. So you still have to know the product inside and out. You still have to be engaged with the product teams constantly. You still have to keep track of new features that are coming out and ensure that the designs have your copy and not somebody else's copy there. So it's an ongoing process, like with tech writing. Can you provide an example on how to build familiarity for the user? So familiarity comes with good question, actually, Sunil. Familiarity comes with both the language and the tone we use, and also the words we use. So for example, in our product, we have this this major thing, right? So did you guys know that, do you guys know what fiat is?
No.
No, right? Fiat is just the card that, as long as we know, right? But apparently not. All the traditional currencies, the paper currencies, are called fiat currencies. Nobody knew it. I did not know it,
Oh,
but
right.
we were using it. We were using it on our platform, and the first day I joined, I saw this and I was like, what is fiat? I literally asked my my CPO that question. Because we have to assume unfamiliarity with the user, right? That is how you have to go about it. You have to assume that the user is not familiar with your product, and you have to build the familiarity. And you don't do that by talking all this techie speak and internal using internal words, right? So you have to relate to the user at their level. So this is more conventional, is a lot word, but still conventional is something that you're used to. So instead of calling it fiat currency, we started calling it conventional currencies. So things like this. So when you start making the product relatable, you build familiarity. That's my point I'm getting at.
Got it. Thank you, Bala.
No problem. Do you guys think involve the mindset change towards identifying the solution for UI problems? Yes, Nandini, good question. And yes, you definitely need to start thinking like a designer. So I think I have a line somewhere later on the slide that says, the designer need not be thinking about copy. Technically they should, but they usually don't. But the copywriters, the UX writers, you have to think about design as well when you're writing copy. So basically, the job is the same between a UX writer and a UX designer. The job is quite the same. I would say it's like two sides of the coin. So you are both addressing the same problem, but you are doing it from a copy perspective, and that guy is probably doing it from a design perspective. So both these need to go together, and that's when the whole solution reaches the user.
Thank you, Bala.
Hey, Bala, just to may I interrupt for a second? So probably if you could just tell us what happens on a typical day. How do you, when a wireframe reaches you, how do you start approaching that? How do you start picking the words, and where do you refer, and do you have a database? So if you could answer that kind of a question, then probably I think a lot of these questions could be answered.
Okay, so
what is your typical day basically?
Okay, my workflow basically is that it starts with any new UX copy that's needed. I usually get the request from the corresponding team's product managers. Okay, so we have like 7 teams, and I'm right now the only writer here. So so they'll assign the Jira ticket to me. I'll go through the descriptions. They may have some Confluence pages linked to it for the backstory and the context. But mostly, I probably may not have the time to read the entire Confluence page, so I'll still go back to the product manager or the designer and ask them, like, can you please explain what's going on here? So because sometimes they and it's usually not placeholder text, because they will try and fill what they need there itself. But then it may not be accurate because these guys are not native speakers of the language. So I mean, neither are we, but we're slightly better, I guess. But so I then identify what they are actually trying to convey, and then this is where the design thinking from designer's perspective comes into play. So do you actually need to say all of that? Just because they have all the content there doesn't mean you have to write. You have to make it better and send it across. Does the user need all of this information, or does the user need only a part of this? Or does the user need none of it at all? Or can we change this somehow? Instead of having a text, can we put it as a button, or like a disclaimer checkbox or something like that? So these are all things that we can think about. And if we get some ideas like this, then I will go back to the designer saying, okay, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? So can we maybe do like a variation of this, of the existing design, with my suggestions, and then we can compare both and find out which will be better. And more often than not, the designers or the product managers, or maybe even the product analysts in the teams, they go ahead and they do like an A/B testing with these two variants that we've generated, and then they'll come to a decision and say, okay, so this is better, or in this case, this one is better. So so then that's it. The copy copy is done. It's finalized. We send it across to the design team. I actually work with Figma. Figma is a design tool. I hope you guys know it. I don't. So I can directly edit the copy in Figma itself. So I'll do that, and then it goes for a design review, and then the PM's review, and then it's pushed into development. So this is my everyday workflow. Emails are another big part of what I write. So when I'm writing about emails, writing for emails actually, this the most important thing to consider is the tone of voice, like how we want to communicate to the user, and what kind of relationship are we trying to establish with the user. So I think that is what the tone of voice defines. And then what information is needed. Again, emails have a tendency to get wordy and lengthy, but I feel like we can chop down anything that is not needed and keep it really concise, because again, people don't like long emails unless you're giving them something at the end of it. And these emails usually are just notifications. And okay, so did you just log into your account, or, oh, hooray, your transaction is done. So you don't need to spend 200 words saying this, right? You can do it in 20 words. So keep it short and sweet. Landing pages is this tricky part. Like I said, because landing pages are both product and marketing. So they kind of fall in this gray area. So it takes a lot of iterations. It goes back and forth between the marketing copy team, and then the rest of the marketing team. And then there will be some primary stakeholder for that page, like somebody from the communities team, or somebody, the CPO or the COO, or somebody. So everybody needs to agree on what's on that page. So that is really hard, or it has been so far in this company at least, because everybody has a say in everything, sort of. So landing pages are what take the most time, because they also go through the most iterations. And then there's design involvement as well, and then there's like imagery or videos and everything on the landing page. So it's really complicated.
Bala?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Chetan. So if you can show some examples, like how, like some designers have given you some work and how you improvised on it and come up with some good UX writing there, it would be really
okay.
helpful.
Sure, I'll have to dig through, but I can definitely show something, but it'll not be pretty. I promise. Okay, let me try and open something up. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
If I don't show it to you by the end of this session, remind me. I'll do it again. But I will try and find something for you.
Hey, Bala, so let's get back to the questions from Amanpreet. So please give an example. That's what you're going to be doing now after the session, the end of the session. So Shankar asks, does error messages fall under UX writing?
Yes, definitely. Error messages, notifications, anything that the user interacts with while on the product, except the knowledge base, is UX writing.
Okay. Zubin asks, do you have any technique to test your UX writing? For example, if I put a name on a button and want the users to invite to click on it, I want to validate if it's working or not. So do you have any customers?
I don't actually do the testing of the copy myself. We have UX researchers who do it for us. But yes, so when I talked about all the heat maps and things like that, that is basically something the UX researchers use to track user behavior on the page. So based on their mouse pointer movements and things like that, and how many clicks do we get. So for every person that visits, every 100 people that visit the page, how many people actually click on the CTA and things like that. So these are all data that we can pull all the time. It's not very hard.
Okay. So the next question is from Reva. Can we say microcopy is a subset of UX writing?
Sure. Yeah. Microcopy is basically any. I don't know what the technical definition of microcopy is. I just assumed it's something, like very short.
Reva, can you probably tell us what you mean by microcopy?
Hi, can I chime in? Sangeeta here.
Yes.
Hi, Sangeeta.
Hey, how are you, Bala? Good to hear you.
Good, long time, yeah.
Yeah. So microcopy is typically help text that you see on the UI. Anything that's going to kind of help the writer, help the user. Yeah. help the user.
So you mean the tooltips and things like that?
Yes, tooltips, error messages.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I
your
assume.
button,
But
yeah, even the copy on your button, this CTA is also a part of micro copy. So
yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
very close to what you're doing.
No, this is exactly what I do. Like I write everything, like everything that on the copy is on the product is written by me. So I write UX. I even the field names, the CTA buttons, the tooltips, the error messages, notifications, pop-ups, everything.
Okay,
so yes, Reva,
yeah.
yes, everything is written by UX writers, and yes, it could probably be called a subset of UX writing. Is there an overlap between UX writing and interactive help for the product UI? I'm not sure because I've not done interactive help. So the level of our interactive help is at tooltip level. So if we think that there's something that could be confusing to the user, we just add a tooltip there, or like a hover over message. That's it. But if you're talking about embedded help from where you pull in pages from a knowledge base, then we have not done that. I think I think it'll be an extension. It'll not be different, but it'll be an extension of the help you provide to the user on the itself. So you're probably not going to directly link the user to some random knowledge, right? So you'll probably tell them like in a short line as to what it is, and then you'll link them to the user. So it's an extension that way.
Bala, probably we can take a pause here, and you can continue with the session, and then probably most of the questions could be answered during that time.
Sure. Okay, let's keep going. I don't have too many slides left, I promise. Then we can talk about all the questions you have. So this is the next important topic that we all need to deal with. It's selling UX writing in your companies, right? So obviously from the numbers, we see that UX writing is not very popular in India, and people have all sorts of reasons and justifications for it. So for example, it's just filling in words, or you'll be stepping on UX designer stores because they're supposed, UX writing, the copy you write is part of the design. So technically the designer should do it, or should be able to do it. And if you write it, you'll be offending them. Or the products don't need UX writers. Like I said, the UX designers can do it, or the researchers can fill in because they're the ones who find out the problem with the copy, which means they're good enough to write the copy itself. No, I have a very good example because in my company we have an analyst, a Russian guy, Russian Estonian, but the guy is brilliant in his analysis, but he cannot create copy. At the most he can do is make suggestions because his grammar is not perfect. He doesn't know how to write and things like this. So, but his research is rock solid. So he will give you all the insights you'll need for that page or for that flow or whatever. But he cannot write the copy himself. So that leads to the next point. So everybody can write is a very common misconception. No, everybody can type. There's a big difference between typing and writing. And you guys probably all know this because you're all writers. So wait. Okay, so how do we sell UX writing? So first, the most important thing you need to do is create interest in your company. So basically, you have to start evangelizing UX copy. So you have to start with user journeys. You have to. Most user journeys are all also very design-oriented concepts. So you can very easily push them to your company, saying, "Oh no, we are going about this the wrong way. We should talk about user journeys. We should track their progress from beginning to end through the flow and identify things they can do in each step and how we can help them the best way we can and things like that." And keep pressing that the users need to reach a goal. So that is very important. So basically creating more emphasis on the needs of the user than the needs of the business, because this is one very big drawback scenario where the company will not see the need for UX writer is when they are not thinking about the user, but they're thinking about their product itself and their business more than the user. Talk about user needs as something will so basically keep evangelizing. It all comes back to talking and talking and talking, more talking. And also when you talk, you should also have like a plan in mind, right? So you can not just say, okay, so this is what we need to do, and then somebody will ask you how, and you cannot be like, I don't know. So you have to describe the process. You have to explain how you will write based on user needs, how you will slice content to fit into the process and things like that. So what can you do? So to create awareness of UX writing in your company. So instead of having meetings, have workshops, make it more interactive, get everybody on board, get everybody involved. They may not have a say in the final output, but they can have a say in the process of how you get there. And they may actually have very unique insights that you may not have thought about. So keep the process inclusive, get inputs from everybody, create workshops, make it interactive. Use data wherever you can to validate your content decisions. This is a very big problem because even right now in my company, we're trying to identify like OKRs or KPIs for me as a product UX writer, and it's really hard. Like I don't know nobody knows what is a good OKR to track my performance. So identifying. So where it'll help is if you find data that on certain pages that you worked on before and after. Like before, what was it? After you made the changes, how did that change the data metrics themselves? So these will eventually become validations of your work. So use data wherever you can. Start small. You don't have to build a rocket ship. Start with a bicycle, and then you can go on to build a rocket ship. Make everybody understand that everybody should understand the relationship between, or the direct connection between helping the users and helping the business. So they, especially business people, will tend to think of these two things as very separate entities, but actually they're not. So if you're going out of the way to do something to help a user, it may take more, something that will consume more time and resources. The business people may not be very happy about it, but eventually that will come back to you as more business, all that time and effort spent. So you have to establish this strong connection between helping the users and growing a business, because they're usually the same thing. And user needs should always trump business needs. You don't build a product for business purposes. You build the product for the users, and through that you'd improve or develop or grow your business. And also another very good point is to prove the cost effectiveness of what you're doing, of having a UX writer, even, for example. So how is good copy affecting customer support? How fewer calls are they receiving, or how the exit rates have reduced, or the drop-off rates have reduced, and things like that. So these are all, again, factors that you can use to validate your copy. So and this can also be used for knowledge base articles, of course. So how do you go about it? In the previous slide, we talked about all the things you can do. Here, we talk about how we can do them. So we create a tribe. So basically, we identify a few people who seem more interested than others in UX copy, and you create a tribe, and use them to spread the word further. And you have a wall where you map the user journeys. If you have a room, create a wall and start mapping user journeys. It'll definitely help. I don't have a room or a wall, so I'm not doing it right now, but I would really like to. And always do things as a team. So circling back to the workshops instead of meetings. So always try and include more people in the copy decisions. The copy can be yours. There's absolutely no question about that. But the inputs can come from anybody. And the more inputs you have, the better you can write copy as well. So that is very important, to do things as a team. And then this is something I think a problem even I have. Like I don't like showing off my work, even if it is really good. So it's because in my mind, it's my work. It's what I'm getting paid for. Like, so I don't get paid for something and then I show it up saying, oh, I did this. But it helps. Like if you're actually showing the showing off your work in a positive way, it actually helps. Like, so for example, if you're doing show and tells, that's one of the points. So how was the copy before and how is it now? What has changed, and how does it help the product or the user? So the moment the people see the change, they will immediately know how good it is, how much better the copy is now, and how awesome, how positively it is going to impact the product itself, and how much it is going to help the user. So once they start seeing it, the more and more they see it, the more and more they'll agree with the need to have a UX writer. And content critiques are something that we are probably familiar with. We call them peer reviews, but it is just a little more formal. So it's again done as a team. You gather in a room, you put up a piece of your content for review. So people then go through it, and they will critique your content for you. And then based on their feedback, you can iterate on the copy and make it better. So one important thing to notice about content critiques is that you don't make it about the person, you make it about the copy itself. So nothing personal, and no personal accusations or you did this, you could have done this. Instead, the copy is like this, the copy could have been like this, the copy is great, but it doesn't cover this aspect, and things like that. So that's it. We're almost at the end. So to summarize very briefly, content discovery will give you the language, structure, tone, and voice that you need to use for the copy. The user needs will drive your perspective and also your scope. And data will give you a validation for your copy, and also insights as to what the user is thinking and feeling and doing, and what they need to be doing. Creating and reviewing UX copy. We'll touch upon most of the sub points that we already discussed. So we have to be collaborative as much as possible. Don't hesitate to involve people from the design or from the product or marketing or anybody who you think will be affected by the copy in the end. It's better to have them on board early so that you can address all their points in the beginning and reduce iterations later. Think always from the user's perspective. This is second nature to us, so it's no biggie. Go on the journey with them. Build a tone of voice if you don't already have one, and cling to it with your life, because this is very important, because the tone of voice is what will give you consistency across your content, no matter what it'll be. So consistency is very important. It circles back to the question of familiarity, right? So consistency breeds familiarity. So if your experiences you provide are not consistent, the user will not have that feeling of familiarity and relatability to your product. And be confident about your remarks. Have a reason or purpose for every single word you write and edit. So there will be a lot of questions. There will be a lot of questions about your copy, and you need to have rock solid reasons to justify each and every damn word and punctuation you have there. And also consider design elements while you're writing. So like I said, I think we touched upon this earlier. So the designers may not be able to think about copy because they may not have the knowledge or the understanding of how copy works. But as writers, we need to also think about design. We can, because we are designers. We're not designing the visual elements, we're designing the textual elements. That's it. But like I said, the textual elements and the visual elements go together to create the final experience to the user. So it is great to have a good understanding of. It's great to think of it from a design perspective as well, not just from copy perspective. Transitioning into UX writing. I honestly don't have a set path that we can take or anything like that, because mine also happened kind of accidentally. I was in a new country looking for a job, and I got this job and I took it. That's the honest truth. But if you want to transition, these are some things that you can do. You need to establish the need for UX writers. So if some of these may apply to the organizations you're working for currently, and some for new jobs. Okay, so there may be a mix and match. So for example, the first point applies to the company you're working for. So if you want to transition from a tech writer role to a UX writer role inside your company, you have to start by establishing the need for UX writers. You have to convince the management why they need UX writers. And then You have to evangelize the merits of UX writing and tell them how UX writing will help what aspects of the business or the product. And this, I cannot stress enough, start building a portfolio. I know most of you guys probably do UX editing, if not UX writing, because most of the review processes include the tech writer, right? Because they come to the tech writer for content opinions. So create a portfolio for yourself of the before copy and the after copy. 2 screenshots explaining what it is, you're done. It can be as simple as that. If you do more than just editing, if you actually write UX copy, even better. Make screenshots of them, or pull out emails that you may have written and that's gone into production and sent out like 2,000 users or 10,000 users. So start building a portfolio, because that will definitely help when you actually want to transition to a full-time UX writing job in a different company, because everybody wants a portfolio. I don't have one. I'm actually building one, but I'm not a web designer, so I'm trying to find somebody to do it for me. And next step, explain your work to the stakeholders and potential hiring managers. So talk about your work, talk about how you write, talk about your process of your writing process itself, because I recently interviewed a bunch of candidates for another UX writer position in my company, and they had absolutely no clue or no established process of writing. Like, I asked them, so how do you go about writing something? And they were just drawings, and this is something very basic, right? So talk about your work, explain what you do, what you've done, and talk about your thinking process as well, because UX writing is as much thinking as it is writing. In fact, I would say it is a little less writing, because obviously you're not writing pages and pages of product manuals, but it's more thinking, because you have to think a lot more as a product writer, because you are in a fairly earlier stage of the product lifecycle than when you're a tech writer. You're like maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead in the cycle. So what the UX writer creates here is what the tech writer experiences when the product is ready for release and they start documenting. So you need to think more and use less words to convey your thoughts. And also, again, I cannot reiterate enough on this. Use data as much as you can. Data-driven decisions. If for one thing they give you perspective and they give you specifics on exactly what you need to work on, but on the other side, they will also give you justification. Like, you spent 2 months doing something and it doesn't work out, but you did it based on some data that you had. You can justify it to your employers and hopefully not get fired. So and also find the sweet spot for yourself. This is a more of a personal journey. So finding the sweet spot for yourself between writing marketing-y and technical and product. So you have to try and combine these 3 aspects of writing and find that sweet spot in between, just for you, where you can be efficient in all these 3 types of writing, because more often than not, from what I've seen, they overlap with each other. Excuse me. And when you're applying for UX writer jobs, definitely include a cover letter, because this is where you can actually talk about how your skills of being a tech writer transfer to being a UX writer, right? So you have to explain that to the hiring manager or the recruiter, because they would not know. They would see that you're a tech writer and you're applying for a UX writer job, and if the recruiter is not very experienced, they may not even consider you. Excuse me. And yes, again, have some sort of a portfolio handy, even if it is not on a website. Maybe at least a PDF or like a PowerPoint presentation converted into a PDF or something that you can share with them when they ask for it. Explain your work to your stakeholders and potential hiring managers, and talk about your transferable skills. What other skills you have as a tech writer, or other soft skills that you've learned during your career that you can transfer into this new job as a UX writer, and how will these skills help you be a better UX writer? Yep, that's it. You can, if you want to apply, just go ahead and apply. It is actually a good time to transition into UX writing because it is still young. It is the stream is not even 10 years old globally. So this is a very early time to be a UX writer. It's kind of like how many of our senior people got into tech writing. So when they got into it very early in India, like there were like 10 or 20 tech writers when they started. So it's kind of like that now for UX writing. So key takeaways, UX writing starts and ends always with the user. So it's not about you, it's not about your business or how much money you make, it's always about the user. It's always about addressing their problems and solving their problems for them. And as much about collaboration, because you cannot do this alone. You have to consider a lot of angles, and hence you have to include a lot of people. You have to be collaborative. You cannot go into a cage, lock yourself in and write UX copy that'll dazzle everybody. That will never happen. And create, publish, measure, iterate. This is the cycle. These 4 words are your, like your mantra. If you want to be a UX writer, you have to create, publish, measure the efficiency of your copy, and then iterate and keep the cycle going. And we're done. Any questions? Wait, let me go back to the chat. I know we have a lot of questions.
Yeah, Bala, we have plenty of questions, but I know where we stopped, so we could get started from there.
Yeah.
So the question we will take next is, how do we qualify as a UX writer? So I believe you answered that question. Okay. So it's from Snehal. It's right
Snehal Mayakar. Yeah. Okay. Got it. So yeah, we kind of touched upon it. So the way I see it, or the way I marketed myself when I wanted this job is, I told them that, UX writing is a subset of tech writing, which is kind of true because the grammar and the rules are the same. You are still writing in plain English. You are still trying to keep things simple. You're probably not writing, like I said, you're not writing. You're probably a few steps earlier in the product lifecycle than when you are a tech writer. Other than that, nothing else has changed. So I think any tech writer can be an effective UX writer if they have the basics, solid of writing, and if you can also think like a product person. Like when we're writing a procedure for like a, when you're writing the manual and when you're describing a procedure, the procedure is already done, right? All we are thinking about at this point is, how do I convey this to the user efficiently, simply? That's it. But here you have to think about how the procedure itself can be. So that is the difference. So you have to be thinking a little more product oriented, and you have to think more from a user's perspective. So how will the user, how better can the user use this product, or how better can we make this flow for the product, for the user itself? So you have a little more control. Yeah, somebody started saying something and I totally cut them off.
Yeah, it was me, Snehal. So to land a first job in the field of UX writing, so how do we go about that? Like, do we need to have some sort of like certification, or do we need to have some background experience? I mean, I come from technical writing field, so how do I?
Yeah. So you don't need I mean, certifications may help. I'm not sure. I only have one certificate, and that is from attending a 2-day workshop, which I did through my company because my company paid for it. But before that, I did not have any certificates or anything like that. But what will help you is definitely to have a portfolio of your work, and how well you can convince the hiring guy or the recruiter that you are the right person for this job. So basically, you have to have a decent portfolio of your work, samples showing your language skills and your, how you think and how you interact and how you write for different audiences and things like that. So if you can cover all these aspects in your portfolio, that'll be great. And you have to have a kick-ass cover letter that will, convince the person that you are the guy or the person for this job.
Got it. Thank you so much, Bala.
Yeah, because tech writing, like I said, it's very easy to transition. Technically, it's very easy to transition from tech writing to UX writing because they're not very different streams. Next question.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted to remind you, like.
Yeah. No. I promise.
Examples.
We're not leaving.
Sure.
I will show you something.
The next question is from Sangeeta. Do you involve tech writers for UX writing? Do they also review the strengths?
No, we don't have a tech writer. We only have one UX writer, and I'm not very happy with him actually because his English is, God, never mind. Anyway, so no. So these are very, as of now, at least we have not involved any tech writers because maybe because we don't have them or no. But who reviews my work then, right? So in my company, the structure is so that I'm part of the marketing team, and I report to the creative director. He's a British guy who lives in New York. So he reviews my work, and we also do a lot of peer reviews. I also review a lot of marketing copy as well because there are 4 marketing writers and only one me, and we have this common Slack channel where we all share each other's work and we review them and critique them and add pointers. So that's how it goes.
Okay.
But if you're a UX writer, you're expected to be as good as a tech writer. So I don't think it'll make sense to have a tech writer review your work. Unless you are a lone UX writer and that person is a lone tech writer and you end up reviewing each other's work, then yes. Otherwise, no.
Okay. So next question.
Nibu has a really long question. Tech writers work as UX writers as well. There's really not as much work. Nibu, are you saying that you are in a small company where you are being consulted, or are you saying you're in a large company? I'm a little confused.
Yeah. I actually work for a startup.
Okay.
So, I was just making a comment. It's not like a question.
Okay. Yeah. In startups, yes, definitely, it's easier to be a tech writer and a UX writer and to have to wear multiple hats. Like, so in my previous job, I was literally the only writer. I wrote everything from the company flyers to the product documentation, everything in between. So yeah. Anything else? Can you give an example of copy? Even one liner would do. How to?
Okay. So there is a question from Sangeeta. Do you follow any rules for emails and landing pages?
So Bala, do you
yes.
have like a template sort of fish for landing pages? What goes in, what doesn't go in, and do you have standard email templates? And what sort of emails do you write? Which emails?
I write mostly the automated system emails because so the line between product and marketing is still very hazy in my company. So how we do it is any system generated emails or any bulk bulk emails that are sent through the CRM system. Well, we have the CRM team now, but previously I used to write them, but now where the CRM team writes them and I review them. But all the system generated emails, all the automated emails for notifications, anything like that, I write them. And any marketing emails about some features or new products or any giveaways or contests and things like that, the marketing team writes them. As for the landing pages, we don't have a specific template. No. So we basically sit down and discuss about what we need, what are the things we need to convey to the user on that page, and what we want them to do, or what the end purpose of that landing page is, and then we go from there. Because we not all landing pages address the same needs, right? For example, our homepage is also part of the product because we have our main widget on there, and you can start buying and selling Bitcoin right there on the homepage itself. But we have a separate landing page for one of our initiatives, community initiatives called Built with Bitcoin, and that is purely marketing. Like, it has no call to actions or anything like that. Well, actually, yes, it does have a call to action, but it is a call to action for you to donate. So there it'll be more flashy. It'll talk more about the things we have done and what we plan to do further and things like that. But on the homepage, no, we don't need to. So what I'm trying to get at is that we cannot follow one simple structure or template for all the landing pages because the purpose of the pages themselves differ and vary.
Thanks, Bala.
I think a classic example of that landing page would be the Google search page, right? So where you have only one field and there's no confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just go type what you want to type. So the next question is from Sarita. Can you give an example of a copy? I think you could probably be.
Tech writer would write and how a UX writer would write. I should have prepared more examples. I'm really sorry, guys, but I will show you some of my work, and we can talk, and we can discuss, and we can actually even you can say what you think, whether it's tech writing or it's better than that. Reva, microcopy are the labels that are paid. Okay, got it. Namrata Dhotre. You use a style guide? Yes, we definitely use a style guide. We have 2 style guides, one for the brand voice and one for the UX copy itself. So the UX copy style guide, I based it off of MSTP. I created it actually. So it's not very different from a style guide that we would follow for tech writing. It's very similar. Shankar Revadala, please recommend good courses and books about UX writing. Dude, I have no idea. Because quite frankly, I'm also new to this field. I've only been here like close to a year now. But you can follow, what I do is I follow a lot of groups on Facebook, and UX Writing Hub is one group that I follow. They have a lot of webinars and things like that, very useful ones. I attended one with where they had the content manager from like content strategy manager from Netflix give us a talk. Oh, it was so good. These are all like 1-hour talks or less, but they're really informative, at least at the basic level. So I would suggest joining those groups on Facebook. And in these times, they're actually extra active, so you get to learn a lot more than you normally would. And go find conferences, have your managers approve your budgeting requests, and just go and learn stuff. Like my 2-day workshop was also one such thing. It was part of my learning budget, but it was supposed to happen in London. I was going to go, but then I didn't, and we had it online from our homes. But I think attending conferences is a very good way to learn, because if you want to learn deeper about psychology and UX research and things like that, you would probably need to take courses. But just for UX writing itself, the writing part itself, I don't think you need to, because you guys are already tech writers.
Sure, thank you. That was helpful.
Recommend good courses. Okay, done. Again, how do we get involved in design phase itself? This is an awesome question, Nandini. So it's very hard. So you have to kind of be the driver in this initiative. You have to push, and this is something even I'm trying to do. I'm not successful yet, but hopefully in at least a year I'll have this process down. So like I said, right, so the way I write copy now is very reactive. It's not proactive at all, and it's sad actually. So what happens is people, the managers or the stakeholders, they have these ideas, and then they tell that to the product managers. Managers go to the designers and say, okay, this is the idea, draw something up. And the guy draws it up, and then it comes to you for copy. And at that point, all you can do is fill the gaps with words. But the copy is as much part of the experience as the design itself, right? So what actually needs to happen is that you need to be involved in the design ideation. Like even when the designer is coming up with the wireframes or like pencil sketches or whatever, the copy needs to be there, because that way your copy will have more say in how the design itself flows. And you can do all sorts of variations and things like that, and you can make the experience even better for the end user. So try and get involved as early as possible. Yes, you have to convince the design and product management teams to involve you at an early phase. It's going to be it is definitely an uphill battle, I'm not going to lie. But if you can achieve it, it is really awesome, because it'll make everybody's life easier, your job much better, more rewarding as well, and it'll definitely show a marked change in the way your product, the final product, looks than when you are involved later after the design is finalized. Do you follow a template, for example, templates? Yes, like I said, I created a style guide, a copy style guide based on the MSTP. So yes, MSTP worked great for UX writing as well. There's no specific structure, Zubin, for error messages. So once you have your tone of voice locked in, you can start the sentence a certain way or not. But there is no specific structure. But it is usually helpful if you show some empathy. So you say, sorry, this is our bad, or sorry, this was not supposed to happen, or whatever, and then tell them what happened, and tell them also what they can do next, or what will happen next if they cannot do something about it. So I think these two elements are very important: what happened and what needs to happen, or what they can do. So it's best, because if the users don't have direction after something has gone wrong, they're like, what do I do now, right? So if you're able to address that, that'll be awesome. Nibu Thomas has more comments. Any mechanism to intuitively change content in real time based on usage of the product. Kinmay, can you explain what this question is? Kinmay?
Yeah, I was on mute and talking to myself. Sorry. Okay. Hi, Bala. And
Hi,
nice session. What I wanted to ask was, sometimes what happens is, especially in very GUI-centric applications, sometimes the story is written, and if you have you use case scenarios while designing itself, and what happens is you'll also anticipate the user path of usage of the product, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, what happens is we can't have the same type of copy for multiple users. So when I'm having multiple users, the way their path is, so if you let us assume that I'm going through a path A and somebody else is going through path B, so I can't have the same content sometimes. So that is what I meant by anticipating the writing part of it for a usage.
Oh, okay, so you're basically talking about user journeys. And the journey will depend on the need, and that the need level is where we are addressing the copy. So if the journey is separate, the copy will be separate. Or if it can be automated through code, yes, you can do it. But otherwise, the copy will just be. I mean, for you, it'll be repetitive, but for the user, it will not be, because depending on the journey they are, or what phase of the journey they are in, the corresponding copy will show up to them. Is that what you are asking? No.
I think, Kiran, you're on mute.
Yeah, this is something which initially gives me the idea, but what I wanted to do was I'll take it offline with you, Bala, later on.
Sure,
I'll give you some use case scenarios and let me know, is it possible? Because it is in the healthcare industry, and so the audience will be doctors and medical practitioners. It's not going, they're not going to be the end users. So, okay, I will probably.
Okay, sure. Yeah, okay.
So, Kiran, is it something like chatbot writing where you say, you go to Swiggy and you say a part of my product, a part of my order was not delivered and you want the refund. So are you talking about something like chatbot writing?
No, not at that level. No.
Okay.
Designers have been trying to make the UX intuitive. As a result, there won't be much contribution from technology. Please clarify. Dude, it depends on how good a writer the designer is. Yeah, so it may not always be the case. So especially at least in the Western world now, they're expecting designers to be writers as well. But it's understandable because English is their native tongue, right? But in Europe and in Asia, you cannot expect that. I mean, a designer need not be a good writer, not always. They may not have the language skills that we have. So if you are that kind of a designer, then awesome. Then, or if your competition is that kind of a designer, then you're screwed. But otherwise, I think you have a fair chance.
Thanks, Bala.
Anticipating rating. Okay, I think we covered this. Genuine guy, I don't know, never mind. Anagha Nair. Is there a template for UX writing? Yes or no? Oh, she's answered him. Okay. How can we apply UX writing principles in product manuals? That is an interesting question. So if the manual is going to be online as part of the web platform or whatever, then you can maybe treat it like another landing page or part of the product experience itself, and you can write it accordingly. You can make it more interactive, things like that. But other than that, you can use the same tone of voice that you use on the product there as well. You can keep the writing more informal if you choose to, and things like that. We don't like mostly tech writers. We are very uptight about the language we use and things like that, right? So you can be a little more liberal about the words you use and stuff. And I think that will bring you close to that will bring the users on the knowledge base closer to the experience that they have on the product. Does one need to have a good understanding of the technical developer aspects such as database connections, batches? No. You don't need to. Oh shit, my computer's dying. No, you don't need to have. Sorry, you don't need to have technical knowledge at all, especially for. But maybe even less than than tech writers, because tech writers now are expected to do everything, right? They're not expected to write code. They're expected to write review code, generate your own samples and whatnot. But UX writers don't need to do all that. Have you come across any requirements of culture specific or? Good question, Namrata. But as a standard practice, even as tech writers, we try and keep our content as bias-free as possible, right? So if we are successful in doing that, then all these culture-specific and geo-specific references will not end up on the copy itself. Sometimes, so only in marketing we may use stuff like this, but definitely not on the product. We should not. Just like in tech writing, we should not. Any openings for yoga? No, yeah, sorry. We had only one opening, and I just hired somebody for that role. So sorry, but I'll keep you guys posted. Farhana, could we discuss how to use data in UX writing other than heat maps? What could we use? Good question, Farhana. You can run surveys. So that is one more thing that you can do. So it's something I've been trying to. So I'm not able to. I don't have big understanding of the CRM tools and stuff. So I'm waiting for the CRM guys to come up with to set up the right tool for surveys. Because I don't want generic surveys, right? Generic surveys are not very helpful as a UX writer. So, for example, how was your order? Did you get your food on time? No, that doesn't help you much. And it's not that simple either. So if you're walking the user through like a particular journey, you would want to address specific aspects of that journey in your questions to the user. So I want to create these kinds of surveys in our product. So the guy said that they have a tool that can do that. So I'm waiting for them to set the tool up so I can start running surveys. So that is a very good way to collect data on your users. Heat maps, I think I'm calling it, maybe I'm addressing it very simply. I think there's a lot more to it than just heat maps. And also any of the conversion metrics that the marketing team uses that will also be useful for you as a UX writer. So these are all things, data points that you can consider.
Thanks, Bala. Did you mean that you are going to incorporate the survey inside the product so that when people use it, do the survey?
Yes. So
not like the marketing.
Product,
go on.
No, not email service. So this is what they suggested I do, and I was not too keen about it because how many of us take email service? I don't even open such emails, right? So it seemed pointless to me, and since I wanted specific answers to specific questions, I thought it would be better to have the survey on the platform itself, tailor to specific audiences who have just gone through a particular flow that I'm trying to analyze. Perfect. So for example, if they're onboarding, like new onboarding, right? So I can target specifically users who have gone through the onboarding flow, and at the end of it, I can ask them certain questions so they can answer accordingly. And this will give me a lot more insight than a like an email blast with to 4 million users, which nobody will open.
Yeah. Thanks, Bala. And your GIF game is on point. Awesome.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Is copywriting similar to UX writing? From 60 EF. No. If you're talking about marketing copywriting, no, it's different. It's not the same as UX writing. So there may be some overlap, but they're not the same thing. Just like how tech writing and UX writing have an overlap, but are not the same thing. So like I said, you have to try and find that sweet spot for yourself between all these three aspects of writing, and you can deliver your best work. I'm so sorry, Jigajini. Sorry, I don't have any UX Udemy course links. Actually, I did a search on Udemy because we have a subscription, but I could not find anything specific for UX writing. I was, however, able to find a lot of courses for UX research and UX design, fundamentals and advanced and everything, but not for UX writing. Rohit Parmar. Yes, very good question, Rohit. Sorry, I did not cover this in our in the presentation. You have to consider localization as well. So actually, fun fact, this is how I got the job, because the copy was so bad that on the product that the translators were suffering. They were struggling. They could not, localize the product in whatever language. I think at that point we were localizing in 4 languages: Russian, Spanish, and not French. I don't know, one other language. Anyway, so that is why the localization manager is one who put the request in for a UX writer. So funny how life works. So if you guys have any localization people in your contacts, reach out to them, because they will be able to get you a foot in the door, because they know the real pain of having to translate bad copy, because it's next to impossible and the meaning is lost and there are so many problems with it. So you have as a UX writer, you have to keep localization as well in mind, especially for space and translatability. So for example, Thai is a really long language. So this is something I saw from my personal experience, and also Russian. So what is 2 words in English will be, and occupies this much space, will be 5 or 6 words in Thai and be like this long, or maybe even this long. Same in Russian. So in those cases, what you can do is you can you can try and simplify the English text. It may become a couple of words longer, but if you're using simpler words that have more direct translations in these localized languages, then that will make the copy almost consistent in size. So in all the languages, they'll be the same size, give or take. So yes, you should definitely consider localization and translation when you're writing UX copy. Nibu, what role does UX writing have on the design affordance? Nibu, can you tell me what you mean?
So affordance is a UX term that is used to determine how likely it is that somebody would take an action on something.
Okay. Take an action as an engage with the product.
Yeah. So see, design, you agree, right? The way a product is designed could or does impact the way a user interacts with it, right? You have like what is this? The railway site, right? It's so difficult to use. But I mean, with the same number of tabs and then same text, with just design, you can make it. I mean, you can design it in such a way that the user will feel like interacting with it. So affordance. area in UX itself?
Okay, so let me see if I understand this right. So, or maybe give you an answer in a way I understood it. So the UX writer definitely has an input on the overall design as well, if that's what you're asking. So for example, if I feel that this flow can be simplified or altered in a certain way that will in the end benefit the user, then I have the voice to tell it to them, to the designers, and make that change. So this is something we already covered in one of my slides where I said that I give my version and the designer has theirs, and we kind of do A/B testing on them and figure out which one works, and then we'll go ahead with that. So I think I understood you right, but that's a new term. I've never heard of it. Thank you for bringing it up to me. Do you need to have a good UX to be a good UX writer? No, Vidya, you don't need to have. You have to have a good sense of user experience. So basically it boils down to empathy. So if you're able to put yourself in the user's shoes consistently and approach the product from their perspective and I didn't be the first user of the product, then I think you'll be a good UX writer. You don't need to have design experience or anything like that, or any education in UX learning or human computer interactions or anything. No. I hope that answers your question. Take a couple more questions and we can call it a session. Okay. Is UX writing specific only for software products? Can UX writing be suitable for engineering, mechanical? Yes, definitely. Anything that has any text, you can be a UX writer there. It may need a UX writer. Mostly people will not probably think of it. They'll probably not see the need, but ultimately a machine is like any other software product. Like somebody is going to use it. So our job is to make it easy for them to use whatever it is. It could be a machine, it could be a car, it could be a piece of software, anything. Okay, I'm gonna try and find my work. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I don't show you all my crap. So, and then I'll come back. Oh, by the way, this is my thank you slide. I will come back and I will share some of my work samples with you before and after so that you guys get an idea. It's not great, sorry, but how do I stop sharing? But in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, if you actually want to physically, talk to me, please talk. I love talking. I hate reading chat messages.
Hi, Bala. I just have a question.
Yes.
Like as a UX writer, do you get a chance to rework on the workflows also once it is finalized, or it is going to be the plain writing? Do you get a chance to rework on the flows that is already created?
You mean flows as in the
workflows,
user journeys?
That's important. Is this role seen as that important? Is the
oh yeah, definitely. Like if you're asking if I have a say in the process or the flow that the user goes through to achieve something, then yes, definitely. If I see that the process now is very long or cumbersome or confusing, then yes, I have a say in it. I definitely have a say in it. I can go ahead and talk to the managers and the designers and get them all together and figure out a better way to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so
So, Bala, how do you provide your estimates? As in, how long does it take for a job to be done?
It's so crazy here, Gayatri.
I know estimation is something that even we tech writers can't really say, but
yeah, it's
curious to know if you share a similar story. or a similar sad story?
I have a worse story because I have no estimates. I have no timelines, meaning I have zero time for any task. So any task that I get, I need to deliver it like immediately. Okay. So usually, but now I'm slowly learning to push back a little, saying, "Oh, whoa, wait! I need more time for this. This cannot be done overnight," or things like that. But I recently designed like a process for our company, for myself, for product copy within the company, and I put in like ETAs for tasks based on their complexity, and I said that anything like if it's 1 or 2 words, 1 or 2 lines of copy, I can probably have it done the same day. But if it is going to be like an entire landing page, I'm going to need 5 days. So all the copy will be between this time gap. So it could be either the same day or 5 days. So if I take any more time, I think I'll be fired. So I'm gonna try and keep it there.
Yeah,
because they move really fast here, and it's crazy.
Yeah, makes sense. Thanks, Bala.
Let me just try and open my my so-called portfolio. I think I'll have something there.
On the topic of examples of UX writing, I have a suggestion. There's something called growth.design. It's a website. Case studies about how these big companies use UX. It's not just writing, but design as well. So things like how Amazon uses UX to change your shopping habits, and it takes you step by step about each screen, what they're trying to do, and the psychology behind it. I felt that's a good resource. It's growth.
That's really nice. Thanks. If you can share it with everybody on WhatsApp or on our Telegram channel, I think it'll be better because
Farhana, probably you could just type it on the chat window.
Yeah.
Sure. Like me, who are quite dumb, can see that.
Of course.
No, because we will lose this when we close this meeting, right? So if it is on Facebook, on chat, on WhatsApp or Telegram, we can go back and find it whenever we need it. That's what I was thinking.
All right.
Okay. So this is not great, but I'll walk you through my portfolio of samples that I have so far. It's at least a few months old because I have not added anything new to it yet in a while. But let me share my screen so you guys can see it. It's gonna be hard to read. I'm sorry. For being a writer, I'm not a very creative person. So if you can see this before and after, these are kind of things that, wait, can I zoom in on this?
There's a plus button just below what you've opened in the previous.
Yes. Is it better now? Can you guys read it at least?
Yeah, Bala, sounds okay. Looks okay.
So I would like to bring your attention to the word usage here. So instead of threat, we've said account locked because threat sounds immediately scary, right? Oh my God, what happened? But when you and it doesn't convey what's actually happened to the user. So when you say your account is locked, the user knows that, okay, my account is locked, it's still safe, something's wrong, but it's all there, that kind of reassurance. So it's these kind of little changes that we make to the language that will actually make our product more relatable and more familiar to the user. Going back to earlier to somebody else's question about familiarity. So this is one example. This is another I copied straight off of Netflix. I'm not even gonna lie. So basically what we do here is, this is basically a confirmation pop-up, right? So the user has already clicked saying, delete this webhook or whatever. So why do you need to use so many words to just confirm that action? Are you sure you want to do it? But when you say delete webhook and use the question mark, it's still the same meaning, and it's a lot less words, and it's just more elegant, I think. Somebody's taking screenshots or pictures.
That was me.
No,
because I missed the crucial part.
No. Okay, well, wherever it says confidential, it's confidential.
Sorry. I'm really sorry.
No worries. No, you can keep it for your reference. It doesn't matter, but just don't post it anywhere public.
No, of course. I have deleted it.
So this is also another aspect. So when the user has made some kind of an error, or if they're not meeting your requirements, this is very popular when you're trying to validate fields. This is just says, right, when you say just a negative message, it says this email is already in use, use a different one. But the same way, when you're creating a password, you're saying you're basically nudging the user to do everything that you want them to do, and you're checking it off right there for them. So 6 characters, green, one uppercase letter, green, one lowercase letter, green, and one numeral, green. So when they do all this, they know that their password